Partners, we are going to work on the lavender lady. Now, often I tell you, you can choose your colors. For the lavender lady, you've got to have purple. So make sure you find your purple for when we get to making the L, because she can't be lavender. Lavender is like a purple color. So we're going to have purple to make the lavender lady. All right, so of course the first part is our border here. Just going around the edges, taking time to get our eyes and our minds kind of set here in the paper. Not just scribbling it, but, back and forth, making a nice frame. When you see really nice pictures on the wall, they're not always in frames, but a lot of times they have frames around them. Just kind of holds the picture together a little bit. And I know from seeing you guys color things in the classroom that you kind of already have down these nice, smooth coloring strokes. Going back and forth, getting a lot of nice color down on there. So the lavender lady, I think of her as someone who lives in the woods, because she was very close to the woods. And she's going to walk with the prince for a while in the mountains, in the woods. So as she's doing this, usually when I think of somebody in the woods, it's usually somebody they don't get a lot of sunshine. So I think of her skin being kind of light colored and her hair not being, very, very dark, because she's in the woods all the time and doesn't have a ton of sunshine. But when we draw her, we are going to be drawing her holding some flowers also, because I don't know if you remember when the prince first saw her, he was seeing her outside the door of her little cottage, and she had been collecting flowers to put in a vase for on the table in the cottage. So it's not going to be too complicated to draw them, because we're going to draw them pretty small. So those flowers that we were drawing in our unit study journals, that we were labeling the parts of the plant with the roots, and we were writing how the plant needs water and things like that. We're not going to be drawing flowers all that detailed and fancy. So here we go. I'm going across the bottom on my border. And again, I'm almost done. If you need to pause to catch up with me, that is just fine. Go ahead and do that. And then get your purple, and we're going to start on the parts of the L, right? We do the border first, and then after we do the border, we make our letter, and we're going to make it nice and dark and easy to see. So first thing I'm going to do is just check around and make sure my edges here are kind of even and nice and straight, because I want to pause and take a look at the whole thing before I keep going. All right, there it is. I take a look. Now I'm going to get my purple. And lavender, it's usually kind of a light purple color. So I'm not going to do it too dark like I normally would. But I want it to, I'm going to make a whole lot of lavender dress. Now, her lavender dress was kind of a fancy one. Remember, her sister was a queen. So the lavender lady was kind of a princess. And when you see really fancy dresses, sometimes they have a long part that stretches out behind them. And we call that long part that stretches out behind them a train. So obviously it's not, it's not like a choo-choo train that goes on the train tracks. This is the kind of train that trails behind a dress that would tell you somebody who wore that dress was somebody pretty important. Pretty special that they would have something like a dress with a train made for them. And she was quite tall and stately, much like the letter L. So there's our big line down. And remember, now with L, there's no frog jump. Instead, now we have little line across the bottom. So I'm going to start that little line across the bottom here. Here she is, our lovely lavender lady. All right, so now I'm going to go and start working on filling in the rest of her dress and the rest of her body. So I'm going to need to be really careful to make sure that I do pretty light so that my L still stands out really obvious. So here I'm making the last few adjustments to my L. This little line across the bottom feels like it needs to be a little wider so that it's the same width as the big line. So check your L2, see if any of your parts need just a little bit of adjustment to make it be a really nice L. And now what I'm going to do, we're going to draw her looking this way, and her hands will be going out this way to hold her flowers. I'm going to put in the front of her first here. Here are her hands coming out to hold her flowers right there. And I'm going to draw just a little bit of dress down. And then, you know, it's kind of like one of those really fancy ones that's big and fluffy, almost like a princess. Well, you know, because she was a princess. So kind of like a princess dress. So I'm going to make it come out here a little bit. But can you see I'm making my purple out here a little bit lighter colored? So there's this part coming out a little bit. And then, you know, princess dresses, they're so big and fluffy. So she's going to have it coming back out here, and then also, you know, like a long train coming out this way too. All right. There it is. There's the lavender lady's dress. Beautiful, lavender colored. And then I'm going to put a head on her. Now, again, I'm not going to make her skin be very dark because I imagine her being in the woods. And so she probably doesn't get a lot of sunlight and doesn't really get tan very much. Here she is. I'm going to make her just a little darker so it's easier to see her. And then her hair. So I think of her being someone who had beautiful flowing hair all down her back. So here we go. Here's long hair hanging down here. There we go. And like I've said, I don't put a face in. If you want to add a mouth or some eyes, you can. For this one, you'd add one eye and a little mouth this way because we're looking at the side of her. In fact, I don't usually put faces, but just so you can see how we're doing the side, in case you want to, I'm going to add that in. So there's her eye, and then here's a mouth. So can you see how we make her? We're kind of just looking at the side of her. And now I'm going to put her flowers. So actually the first part of her flowers that I'm going to draw is the stems. So I'm just going to put some lines like this up and down because she's just holding, you know, a bundle of flowers here. And then I'm going to choose lots of different colors and make her flowers be all different colors. Here's a pink flower and a blue flower. Let's see. Oh, I have some orange. We'll give her an orange flower. And I'll use this darker pink color that I also used for the border. There we go. So she's got some flowers. So now, background. You know, sometimes I've been showing you some fancier things you can do for the background. And you are welcome to do that this week if you would like to. You could try drawing in her little cottage where she lives, or maybe the path where the prince was walking up to her house. Or maybe you could add in some other flowers. Remember, she was walking around in the flower beds outside her house, picking flowers. So you're welcome to do that if you want to. For this week, I'm going to just go ahead with one solid background here. And I'm using, sometimes for my background or my border, I use the colors that don't get used a lot. You know, regular green, oh my goodness, I need that all the time for coloring pictures. And regular blue, I need that all the time. Brown, I need all the time. But some of these pink colors and this really light yellow green, I love these colors, but they're not colors I need very often. So for my background and my borders, sometimes I use these. So this nice yellow green color that I like, I don't get to use it very often. You know, there are not a lot of things that are this color. So I'll use it here in my background and I get to use a lot of it. And I love how this kind of yellowish color looks with the purpley lavender color. So there we go. Now, remember, while she was beautiful and she loves these flowers, and she's got this lovely purple dress. This is a tough woman. You're going to be learning. She works a lot with animals, and then she's going to be the one who really gets the prince started walking up into the mountains on his quest. So she has to be, tough, not only because she just spends all kinds of time walking around in the mountains and camping outside without a tent and all sorts of things like that. Also because, the prince is not very tough, is he? And so she has to be tough kind of for both of them. Sometimes, I have this huge area over here to color, don't I? And I know sometimes if I keep going in one area too long, I'm going to start getting sloppy, and I don't want to get sloppy. So I'm switching over here to color some of these. And unfortunately, do you see some of the blue streak out here when I went to color around it? That happens sometimes. That's all right. I'm going to color kind of carefully around her face because I don't want to get this color on her face. And go up here some. And then I'm going to switch back down to here because I gave my brain a little break from all this great big wide open white space that I'm going to color in with my green. And now I'll come back to it for a while. Fill in a little bit more of this. And then again, I want to give my brain a break, give it something new to think about so I don't start getting too sloppy as I color in all this white space. So I'm going to go around the top of her head here and down the edge of her hair. And then I'll start working out into some more of this white space over here and up from down here a little ways. I'm going pretty quickly because, we don't need our background to be very dark. I just want it to be nice and smooth and to really finish it off. And then again, I've filled in a bunch of white. So to give my brain a little something different to think about, I'm going to go around this edge here of the pink because I'm going to be a little more careful going around the edges so that I don't get my crayon going off into that pink stuff, because I want the pink to be pink, or if you have it blue or orange or whatever it is, right? We want that to stay that color. All right, I'm going to do some more of my big wide open white spaces. And then, my brain starts to feel ready to do something different. So I'm going to go back in over here and color in some more up here by the border this way and finish up above her head. You might be doing a different spot though. You might be working on finishing up your background underneath her train, the little line across the bottom part of the L. All right, here I am, just about done up here. All right, I just have a little space in here and then I have it finished. Like I said, if you need to keep going, go ahead and do that. Take your time. There's no prize for being finished really fast. This is all your work for today. Usually you have lots of work to do in a day, don't you? All you have to do today is do this and go to chapel. So take your time, make her look really nice, make it really obvious more than anything else. That's what you really want to do, right? Is make this L really easy to see in the picture. There she is.